recording and live session of the Board of Commissioners of Weber County Work Session. This is a public meeting, not a public hearing, so no public comments will be taken. Okay, first action is to discuss the approval of the minutes. We have a full quorum today with Commissioner Bolos seated to my right, Commissioner Gage Frohr seated to my left. Our first action item is the approval of the minutes for the work session held on August 19th. Entertain a motion or correction.
Move to approve.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Place that for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 2 is a discussion regarding the rezone property for West Creek Subdivision to amend the zoning map from agricultural A1 to residential R115. We have Felix Leverino, Charlie Ewert, Rick Grover, and Sean Wilkinson. Less Charlie. So, and
Sean.
Okay,
Great.
Felix,
Yes,
good luck.
thank
Buckle
you.
up. Here we
Good
go.
afternoon, commissioners. I got that part right. I'm off to a good start. So, just kind of a recap of what we talked about last time. You know, this is an applicant driven request to rezone some land, 29 acres. From the A2 to the R115, and this is that property. You can see it fronts directly on 900 South. And it's roughly 6150 West. And the name of the development is called West Creek. And so they are here looking to get some maybe your approval, maybe possibly get this on the agenda for a public hearing pretty soon here. And what we're looking to do is actually revisit this topic of rezone that was actually discussed a few months ago in the July 15th meeting. In that meeting, there were some concerns. I'll walk through those that we can make sure that the developer is able to cover those concerns thoroughly to your liking. Going to the next slide, you can see this. This is a map of the Western Weber general plan. And that red polygon is the property in question. You can see where it's situated off of that main 900 South Street and just west of the Weber River. And here is the latest plan that they have, where you can see that they've made some adjustments in light of last work session meeting we had with the county commissioners. They've added a few more connections. They made that connection out to the west of the development, and they moved a connection to the north. There's 2 connections going to the east that would eventually connect up with that 6150 West Street, and then 2 connections to 900 South Street. And you can see their density calculations. Their plan is to obviously maximize the density to their best ability, which is for that R115 zoning would amount to 86 lots. And here's some of the comments that were addressed during that July 15th meeting, and just quick points of reference here. So access to 900 South Street, the sewer plan, and the fire district approval. We were able to get some comments from David Reed directly onto Frontier. He stated his approval at this point for the rezone. However, we do understand that there will be further requirements from the fire district come subdivision application. And here you have the last one here, 6150 road connection. And that really relates to this ability for the traffic to also utilize 6150 as an exit onto 900 South. At this point, they don't own that property, so it's not part of this proposal. But as you can see, those 2 exits southward onto 900 South would address those requirements, being that with each, as this development is phased, they would be able to create those access points to 900 South as needed. And That pretty much covers it.
And the planning commission, Felix, has said
Yes.
what?
So the planning commission just gave a positive recommendation. I haven't reviewed the minutes in great detail in preparation for this meeting, so I don't have those fresh on my mind.
Do you remember, Rick?
They basically approved it. They didn't have a lot of conditions associated with it. I know that Commissioner Frower, last time we had the work session, there was a concern about sewer. And since that time, were you able to get any more information?
Yes, actually,
'Cause that was a
Mr.
big
Pat
concern.
Burns does have some information you'd like to share about this sewer connection.
Okay, Pat, go ahead.
Sure, so. This is just a draft letter. This is something I put together. I had my attorney put together, Brendan Cooney. You guys heard of him, I'm sure.
Yes, he's a defected from the motherland.
So I've had a couple meetings with Central Weaver, meetings with the LMSA board, and then meetings with Brandon. This is a draft letter of how it would work, how it does work legally, how it has worked, how it should work, and what we can do to put it together. I've kind of coordinated a little bit with Stephanie, let her know what my thoughts are anyway, and long and short of it, Central Weaver will be the servicer. LMSA will eventually be the collection of it once there's a lot of integral parts that need to be finalized through LMSA. We'd be annexed into Central Weaver Sewer District and then do a joint agreement that LMSA could be the collector. It's all, and this memo explains legally how it's all done legally with the special service districts and all that stuff so that it works. So it can flow with everybody, and Central Weaver said, look, this is how we do it with a couple other cities. We do it this exact same way. It works really, really well. And so it solves the problems with LMSA with LMSA hasn't got the proper staff to bill and to do certain other things, and, gives us plenty of time to work on that. And this letter from the attorney just kind of explains how to do that. And that's why I went to him, is because he already knew LMSA stuff, Central Weaver stuff, special service districts. So this legally sets it up. I didn't know exactly how in my head how it worked legally. I just knew that there was a way because other cities do it. And so he broke it down in this draft. It's actually really, really good. And so that's the whole legal side of it. And then I had a sewer study that I kind of proposed to you guys last meeting, and I was with LMSA, and they were saying, well, we need a more extensive sewer plan, kind of showing more. So I actually.
Pat, sorry to interrupt you. Stephanie, have you seen this with at the LMSA?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And it just breaks down more of the in-depth sewer of we're putting in deeper laterals and some other stuff that my engineers had put together, so we could service this main trunk line and show how many people it could serve, how many.
And take it west.
No, take it east to the lift station.
So this is where it got a little controversial at our meeting. We didn't have the mechanism in place to take the line east. We definitely can't take that line west right now because our trunk line is blocked by a section of sewer pipeline that's owned by Rob Howard. So nobody can connect from the east to the west right now. It has to be, anyone that's connecting to LMSA right now has to connect on the west side. So this solution actually.
Sorry, just so that I'm clear, thank you.
Mhm.
So anyone that wants to, we can't go from east to west because of Rob Howard. We can only go from west to east up to LMSA. So we can only go up to
Rob
about
Howard. Yeah. So
from
that-
west to
West,
east.
yeah, west east up to Rob Howard's line until LMSA has a contract in place to take Rob Howard's line, which is we're talking about that. That's in discussion.
Okay.
But nothing's been signed, nothing's been executed. So this proposal actually works, and we're in favor of this proposal because it would take Pat's line from the west, connect it into connected into Central Weaver, which is the PID's pump lift station, and then into that mega line that goes back to Central Weaver. Our only concern at our meeting this past couple weeks was that we didn't know how to legally overlap those districts because they provide the exact same service. So Quinny went and looked through the statute, got with Central Weaver, and we can do this. We can do this deal. So Pat's system for the West Creek would go back to the Black Pine lift station and then back to Central Weaver. But Central Weaver is not assuming any new lines at this point. They do not want to take any lines, just like the county doesn't want to take any new lines. So LMSA would come in and make a deal to take that line that it's a gravity fed.
Gravity fed.
Yeah, gravity fed from West Creek all the way to the Black Pine lift station, and we would own and operate that line. But they would be annexed into Central Weaver Sewer District. We would get a percentage of that tax that comes off of that annexation to help maintain that line, because we don't have the resources to maintain that line currently. But we would if we assumed that line and got a portion of that tax. So, and that puts LMSA in the line owning and operating business, which they're open to at this point. We would have to have an agreement put together with LMSA and with Central Weaver to have this deal come together. And then LMSA would have to vote to become line operators, which they have not done yet. So this is a start to a solution, which is and just personally speaking, based on what we've been going through and all the different opportunities we've talked about and different options for connecting some of these businesses, this is not a bad solution. It could be done. It's going to take a little finagling between the two districts to come together and do an interlocal agreement. But it is a solution that is viable.
Personal opinion.
I would rather see this happen than us go the opposite direction right now, because LMSA is we're in the process of putting together a regional wastewater management plan study that we're gonna be getting funded at the legislature. So it's gonna be a year out before we know what type of system LMSA would be doing in the future. It's gonna be a full year out before we even know. We're doing a regional study from all the way from Plain City, the entire unincorporated Weaver County, all the way down to Hooper. And it's very comprehensive. So this is a way for them to connect in and for these developers, so these developers aren't getting hung up in this process while we're waiting. We could even reverse process this at some point. We could reverse the line back to whatever system LMSA ends up using. But we don't know what that system is gonna be for another year. So, and there's other developers that would be able to tie into the Black Pine south of the south part. So if Central Weaver is willing to work with LMSA and LMSA owns lines because they don't want to, then, and the lines are being paid for through tax, the tax on the park properties, then LMSA is gonna be amenable to that solution. And I'm just speaking generally on behalf of the board.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Does that conclude your portion of your presentation?
Yeah, and I'll just add one more. LMSA asked me, I told them, hey, I'm doing this study anyway. And so I did a more inclusive study of what going west from the Black Pine as far as we could go, even all the way down to the lift station that LMSA has. So I've done that, and I've probably got between 25 and 30 grand into it. And I don't mind doing that, but what that does is eventually, like we talked about LMSA, was I will provide all of this information to whoever's doing that study and show the link of what I've done, how I've prepared this, why it works. And then it just makes the study even better instead of incorporating, because they want to do a study that does everything west of the river. This just does for that main central line and the lines going off. And then also across the railroad tracks with West Bridge, we're gonna be doing the study, and obviously I'm gonna give that same information to myself while we do that same study on the other side. So we'll be able to help get all that and then get that to you guys. And we're also using the study, this is using some of the information that the study you guys did. And so we've incorporated all that, and then we'll put all that information and give it to whoever's doing the next study, just so you know. We're just incorporating our study to help everybody west of the river do a whole big master plan for sewer.
And that's really what it is. It's a regional master plan for sewer and secondary water, actually. And that's that'll be part of the study. The study has, the state, stakeholder group is Central Weaver Sewer, all of the water and sewer districts in the West River Corridor, as well as, we're including Hooper in that because their system is pretty much in peril. So that study will look at wastewater, processing as well as creating secondary water, reuse secondary water. We'll be using Central Weaver's recent study. Weaver Basin has their study coming out pretty soon. That should be done. I talked to Darren. He said that'll be done in about 2 months. So any of these little peripheral studies that are happening in this area, that'll all be included in the overall regional study. So, but
Thank you.
once again, it's a year out.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Rick, one of the things for me, you know, the idea of a legacy West Davis, West Weaver corridor is gonna be coming in somewhere in there. One of the ideas that I talked with Pat about earlier about is amending our general plan and making this more of a, I mean, this is gonna be at 900 and somewhere close to where a West Weaver corridor is likely gonna be in that area. Why wouldn't we amend our general plan so he is not with R115, but a C1 or something similar to something like that, whatever that is? Why wouldn't we just do this right the first time? Because instead of putting 30-acre homes there, why wouldn't we put commercial? At least
Yeah.
that's what you guys have taught me.
Yeah, if we had that tied down exactly where that is gonna be going, I think we would feel comfortable from the planning staff doing that, but we met with UDOT and we still don't feel totally comfortable on exactly where that line is gonna be going.
In some ways, can't we create where that goes? By,
We
I mean,
we can give direction, but ultimately, they're gonna be the ones that you pull the ripcord. They're concerned about the wetlands out there and the impacts and the studies, and until we actually have that study done, we don't really know exactly where that's gonna go, so I think in my mind, if we don't have that fully tied down, I don't know if we should be giving commercial designations to property until that's a done deal.
I respect that, you know, so I'm just sitting here, and I'll go to you here in a minute. But I'm going, well, I'm going back to when you and Scott, I was having a struggle with trying to say, and this is in your memory too. I had a hard time with commercial property from 1900 going out to 35 or 4700, all the way along that corridor out there. And now I see another in 50 years freeway gonna be out there somewhere, 50 years of freeway. And we're gonna put a 30-acre homes out there that are just gonna have to be taken by UDOT 60 years from now or 50 years from now to put a freeway through. Why wouldn't we plan for something like Commissioner Bolos was saying out that way? And maybe you've got the answer, but I just haven't come to you yet, but why, what it does is this, I'm really confused about this. Because to me, this is like position A. This is really,
Yeah.
I think if we were to take it from A whatever to R whatever, I think that still does an injustice.
Yeah, I totally agree. If we have a commercial corridor right there and it's linking into it, this should be commercial, mixed use, commercial. I just don't have that comfort level on where that corridor is actually gonna be going, and that's why I have a little bit of a hesitation, but what you're saying makes perfect sense, because that should be commercial in that area or higher density in that area, if that's indeed where the corridor would be going.
That's how you guys have taught me.
Commissioner, can I?
Please, yeah.
So, I organized a task force for the UDOT Legacy Highway a year ago, and we've been meeting regularly. And this is where we're at, so you have a concept of the timeline. We just met with them last week, and where we're at is they would like Weaver County to participate in a regional study to see where that route is gonna go. They're not happy with the 2009 study because it's antiquated and outdated, so they are very concerned about wetlands. So we are.
2009, so 15 years ago.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're in the process, I'm actually applying for some TLC money from WFRC to help supplement this study. They're hoping to get, once we get that money awarded, they actually might jump ahead of the gun and do it and then wait to get reimbursed from WFRC, but it's looking to be probably around a $300,000 to $400,000 study to do a regional study of that area. As it stands right now with our current development, Sean and I and our team met with them, and we're gonna be providing them with, growth data. We're gonna be helping them with, designing, a potential plan through these new subdivisions that are looking at coming in, so that in 5 to 10 years, we aren't building out that corridor and they're coming in and tearing down brand new development. That's our biggest concern right now.
Brand new,
Well,
3rd-acre, beautiful homes out there that are gonna be nice, big, beautiful
So-
but
homes.
whether it's commercial or 3rd-acre lots,
They'll take
they'll
it,
still take it down.
yeah.
Yeah, it
It
doesn't make.
depends on where that corridor goes,
Exactly.
and that's why I don't know that it's prudent to go to a higher density and put more there if they're gonna go right through the middle of it, because we don't have that corridor established yet.
If I owned a 3rd-acre home, I wouldn't want it right off a freeway.
Right, that's true too.
Right?
Or you wouldn't want it running through your brand new subdivision either. So that study, we're hoping will be done in the next 12 months. But it still is lacking funding. And so we're working on the funding mechanism for that study. But there will be a study done in the next year, and you'll have a better timeline and a better route. That's coming up.
And they-
So,
But they did say,
A 15-year updated route of, right?
they want to get to a final route so they can start doing environmental. on it.
yeah, so they're looking at starting in the 3 to 5 years, and next year, not this coming year, but the 2026 legislative session, we're really hoping that that study's done and they can go and make it a priority one and get it funded.
Okay.
So that's where we're at on that.
Commissioner Farrar, you've been patient, you've been so patient, thank you.
I'm a patient guy, you know that.
Yeah, I do.
All right, so, yeah, I understand UDOT's procedures pretty well. I was involved when the state spent a lot of money in Davis County because they were taking some subdivisions out, they're taking homes. We have the ability to direct that by our zoning and what we allow in, which I think would be remiss. We're probably a year out from that EIS,
Yeah.
talking to Carlos, being complete.
Mhm.
So my opinion is the way to properly zone is get the alignment in place, and then once the alignment's there, then decide what we're gonna do. But we do have the ability to either save the state a lot of money or cost them a lot of money by actions like this. Yeah, and this is a great document, but it's still, we don't have agreements with Central Weaver. LMSA is not capable financially, I know the background behind the LMSA. They don't have the capability to go out and hire somebody to run that line. So they don't have a revenue source right now, let's be honest.
Mhm.
So what I'm concerned with this proposal is, this is great, but it's the cart before the horse. I said this last meeting, I'm gonna say it again. I don't want to see any development out there that doesn't have infrastructure in place. We create a liability for the county. We've seen it throughout the state. When we do a rezone, and then that property gets flipped, which it probably will, and then they come in and say, look, you zone this R115, I wanna put 86 lots in there. We don't have capability for sewer or water right now, and then we end up getting in a lawsuit because we've approved it. Now, again, it's a stretch, but still, A2 ground is a lot different than R115. So I think as soon as we have answers on, do we have water? Can we have water connection? Do we have sewer? Do we have connections? Then I'm okay with that. Regardless of what we do with the legacy.
So yours is even before, no matter what it's rezoned to, whether it's a 15 or a C
Yeah.
or whatever it is, your argument is even before those things.
Why?
You've got to make sure that all the stuff's in the ground and ready, and with contracts or letters of agreement or letters of understanding or whatever.
Well, yes, I wanna make sure that it's entirely feasible, that if we're gonna zone something R115, can those 86 homes hook up to the sewer? So, and why would we do that? until
Today,
we-
no.
Yeah, so why would we do that until we know I mean, I come from the old school. You got sewer there, you got water there, you got a piece of ground, okay, you can prove to me that it can be developed. But why put the county in the middle of a potential lawsuit by pre-zoning something that doesn't have the infrastructure? And then we're the bad guys, either because we don't have infrastructure, or LMSA's the bad guy, or Central Weaver's the bad guy. There's not, I just see there's no reason right now to do this, because there's not infrastructure in place, so. I'm surprised the planning commission gave their nod of approval with no infrastructure. I mean, they've always,
Typically at rezone level, as long as they have some type of an acknowledgement, they can grant approval for a rezone. Most of the time, those details happen at the subdivision level,
right,
but it definitely can be required at the rezone level and to hold things up.
well, I guess that's where I'm coming from. I think
Yeah.
we've got ahead of ourselves a little bit on some of these rezones. And until you have infrastructure in place, it's kind of like what we talked about with Ogden Valley. We rezone something for some of these sites that don't have the TDRs to develop. So we give permission for them to, put in 175 homes, but this ordinance requires density rights that they don't have. So it's kind of goes along that same basis. Why approve something if all we're doing is putting the county in a position of, okay, why did you approve it with no TDRs, with no water, no sewer? It goes against, kind of what I think is common sense, but.
And that's exactly your position last time
It
as
is.
well.
And I mean, this is great, but bring me a letter of agreement from Central Weaver, from LMSA, showing they've got the finances to handle that line.
So if you had a letter right there, if that letter said it was an agreement to be able to handle that from those two agencies or those two districts, you're a yes.
And also and we didn't talk about the water. What about water?
So the last meeting I brought Randy Giordano to the meeting to address the water. They have the water, ability to give it to me. No
So
problems.
I guess, what you're saying is I don't disbelieve you. But I want to see a will serve letter from Warren West Warren Water.
I have that.
I want to see a will serve letter from Central Weaver. I want to see a will serve letter from LMSA with the agreement that they have the capability to handle that line. To me, once you do that, then I'm probably okay with this. But just to go off of this is just a maybe. This is okay, this works out. But you can take that and sell it to somebody else, but I guess I'm not gonna buy that today. So that's where I'm at, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner Bolos.
Well, I don't think I've changed much either from the last presentation, and that is, we did this often in West Haven where we, granted a rezone contingent upon certain things, and I'm okay with that. And the agreements were such that if it didn't follow through, if it didn't go through, the rezone reverted, or the zone reverted to what it was. So I'm comfortable with that. We did it on a lot of occasions, and sometimes it reverted back if it changed hands and it never went through, the zone went back. As far as the corridor goes, when I made my comment earlier, it was more to the effect of if our planning and our zoning follow sort of a path that we want for that corridor. My question was, can we create where that path is going to be? Because when UDOT comes in the future and they're looking at the study of where to place that road, and if we've created our corridor, whether it's where it exists now on the map or somewhere different, if we've created that and we've zoned for us, so the commercial areas are bordering that, they're gonna favor that. Versus, because it'll be less expensive for them than purchasing commercial properties or homes. If we've left land. So just a thought there.
Good thought. I think I would like to have this to be a unanimous commission on this subject. So until you can get those things, that's where I'm gonna go. So let's we're still a little too premature, it sounds like.
What about the corridor?
I'm anxious to see what happens with that corridor. I've sat down with Mr. Burns before. I'd like to see him, whatever the challenge is, but I'd like to see him get the great value out of the property. And I still believe that I just feel like this is gonna be the area. And I could be totally off here. In the meantime, it sits and holds, but I think this is gonna be about where that's gonna be.
Well, we have, and I agree 100%, we have the ability to direct that corridor. But in order for us to direct that corridor, we need to see the completed EIS. So, because,
So we stay away from those.
So we stay away from the
properties,
I mean, so they'll give us they'll say, okay, here's the boundary that we think that this will work because of the EIS. And then we go and then we start looking at the overlay with that, whatever it is, 120 feet or whatever we need.
Mhm.
I agree 100%. But I don't think we can do that because wetlands will always, be the negative
for sure.
to, taking a subdivision.
Yeah, and when I make that statement, that's based on my experience as well. We didn't deal with wetlands in West Haven. We aren't far enough west,
Yeah.
so our preservation was pretty easy.
Yeah.
There.
But no, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't start looking at that. But I've got some pretty good information. That EIS should be done within a year.
Yep.
Or by a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the anticipation.
Keep us all up to date on that too, if you would, Miss Russell, if you
Absolutely.
would. So that'd be where we'd go for today,
Okay,
okay? Anything else?
Nope.
That give you clear direction?
Definitely.
I don't expect to see this again though until we have, if you were to get all those things, then bring it back once you have those things. And then then I'm sure you'll have a united commission on it.
Yeah.
I'd like a 3-0 vote, especially as we move towards the future out there. This doesn't need to be a controversial item, shouldn't be. There's too much at stake going out west, whether you talk about being north of the tracks or south of the tracks, and that whole integration going in there. Unfortunately, if it wasn't so opaque or translucent in the crystal ball, it's not very clear yet as to where that's gonna be. But I'd rather do it right the first time than have to do it and do it and do it again. Maybe it's just my lack of ignorance on this particular, I'm learning from you guys. Go ahead, you had another comment, Pat?
and you guys know, there's been no mystery. I didn't want to ever just go R115. My plan was to do a C3.
C3,
I mean, R3, sorry, C3,
okay,
apologize.
had a lot of difference between those two.
Yeah, no, I meant R3. So if I came back with, or when I come back with all the will serves, what if I do that all for the R3 at the same time, and then we submit for the rezone? And I'm not saying I have to, I'll continue with the R115, but just as you guys know, my next plan would be to come right back in and go R3.
What's R3? What does that allow?
Multifamily.
And what about commercial on the bottom though, mixed?
No, we'd have to do mixed use commercial to get the commercial on the bottom.
I think,
And I'm okay with mixed use commercial. That's just another up zone. I just didn't want to push it that far. It's up to you guys. If you're okay with that, I can bring that, or I can just bring back the R115 and. do the
before
will
you
serves.
bring it back, for me, whatever they wanna do. Before you bring it back, I'd like to take a look at it before you even formalize it into a work
No
session.
problem. I can
Yeah.
definitely.
And at that time, it's likely gonna be a new chair to this body, but I would at least like to see it in advance.
Okay.
Cause I really do, as one of the things that probably to help you too is, two of us here are sitting on the WFRC executive board. So we see that. And I wanna be able to not just lobby in your behalf from this side of the table, but also I wanna be able to do it from a regional perspective. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Anything else? Thank you. We'll move on. Thank you.
Okay.
Christie, we're gonna switch out the room. Come again? Yeah.
Thank you, commissioners. I don't get it drawn out. We'll have those will serves for you.
Perfect.
See you guys.
See you back.
Yeah.
Okay, our next item is the closed session, commissioners. This is to discuss pending or imminent litigation. I'll need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in, roll call vote, Commissioner Bolos, Commissioner Faur,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We'll now move into closed session. Christie, you want to bring a recorder in? Thank you.
The next one, right?
We'll get ready to reload the room as we're now exited from our closed session. We can load that room with, yeah, item number 4.
Well, we're flying right through this.
It's a short one today too, 2 hours.
Boy, tomorrow's a short commission meeting too.
We're just so efficient.
Good.
Hello.
Hello.
I did see all your good
You have your presentation.
Ogden
I
Valley
sure
friends
do.
on Saturday night, a little affair.
Oh, at that musical
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
park thing.
Shanna was there, Jen, yeah, all those,
And
yeah. And, turned out okay.
did you feel the love?
Not too much from them.
They give you a shout out from the stage?
Yeah, they didn't give me a shout out. But, it was good. It was good. I was there. Talked to a lot of people.
Good.
So
You guys.
that local band we've got up there,
Thank
you know, they do Mothers of
Mothers of Mayhem.
Mayhem.
They were at West Haven Days 2 years ago.
Were they? You know, they do a pretty
Have
good
you
job.
seen 'em?
This-
Oh, they're
That's your
pretty good.
style. It's a,
80s
you
rock.
know, it's a head knocking
Wow.
band.
Head knocking.
They're like 80s rock, but they dress like the 50s.
They do, yeah.
They're good. They're pretty good.
Mothers of Mayhem.
Mothers of Mayhem.
Mothers of Mayhem.
Okay.
They're all from Ogden Valley.
Oh,
3 of them. I said all. I guess there's 4 of them.
3 of the 4, I think, are.
3 of the 4, are they?
are they all gals?
Yes.
Okay.
They're all
All
mothers
mothers. They have like, what I heard, between the
combined.
3 of them, they have 17 kids. Somebody said that. I don't know
I
if
thought it was more than that, but yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but
Jim, you've got to see him sometime.
yeah,
Wow, great.
you could win the dancing contest.
Yeah, I could.
Did they have a dance contest?
Yeah, they had a dance contest.
That's funny.
Did you see your friend Dave Holmstrom?
No, I didn't see him. Saw your buddy, who was our planning commission guy that kept,
Oh. Barber?
no, not Barbara, the old, you know, the one that keeps writing letters saying that, yeah,
Carver?
no, not Carver. It goes way, Weber State. The guy that worked at Weber State and then he was Holmstrom's friends and anyway. It was kind of some of the old setup there.
Were there signs that said more taxes or approve our city or whatever it is on the
No.
way in?
No, they haven't put up a lot of signs yet. I'm expecting it any day now. They haven't put up any signs yet.
You ready?
Oh, sorry. Ashley, sorry.
That's okay.
This is a discussion regarding affordable housing tools and legislative infrastructure tour. Ms. Russell, Ms. Tuckett, Mr. Park. Let's start with you, Ms. Russell, as you are listed first.
I am going to turn the time over to Ashlyn. She's gonna be presenting some useful information, and this is just an information session for you. That as we're looking at development, economic development has started taking on in the state more of a housing portion of that development. It's kind of been falling onto economic development departments to integrate housing development into their long range plans. As it relates to our increased population and increased demand for jobs as well as infrastructure. So Ashlyn's gonna talk a little bit about some of the state incentives that are brand new as it relates to housing. As you might see a lot more increases in people that are coming, looking for housing subdivisions in the county, particularly the West Creek corridor. Here are some opportunities that we can, that they can assist, and it's not so much the county, these are state incentives, a way that we can direct them towards some of these state funding incentives to take some of the burden off of their infrastructure list.
So I gave you this handout. This is kind of 3 pages of exactly everything and what it means. Every incentive has a different definition of affordable housing and attainable housing. So I just summarized it in my PowerPoint, but this has more in depth, the handout I gave you, if you want to read it. So we'll just go over these. The first one is a state treasurer investment amendment. So this is a lender applied program for a loan to builder. It's a low interest credit. Attainable housing under this bill means new homes not exceeding 450,000
In purchase price.
in purchase price, correct? 60% of the homes must be sold at an attainable level, which is at 450,000. And there is a deed restriction required for owner occupied up to 5 years. And that is the first one. The second one is a housing and transit reinvestment zone, AKA the HERTZ or HTRZ. So this one is a tax increment financing tool. This one, the affordable housing is either 80% of gross median income in the statistical area or 60% gross median income in that area. 12% of the units must be affordable housing. And funds are received by the municipality or transit and can delegate to the developer. 51% of the developable area must be residential with an average of 50 dwelling units per acre. If it's near rail, so like tracks, UTA, all that fun stuff, or 39 dwelling units per acre near BRT, which is bus rapid transit zones. So that one's a little more city oriented. This one, the FIZ, the first home investment zone. So this one's tax increment financing as well. Rental housing and owner occupied both have affordability requirements. The rental is 80% median gross income for households, or owner is 80% of the county median home price for the homes that are owner occupied. The requirements are 25% must be affordable homes, 12% have to be owner occupied, and then 12% can be rental occupied.
So what would be the other, the 76%?
Those could be whatever the developer wants to put in there, whether it's single family residential, that kind of information. And then this one, the FIZ is kind of its own little circle, and then it has extra territorial area requirements. So anything on the outside also has a requirement of being owner occupied as well. And that is broken down a little bit more on the paper I gave you. And then the next one, the HOPS, the home ownership promotion zone, tax increment financing as well. Affordable housing under this one means the sales price is 80% or less of the median county price for sales price. 60% of the homes must be affordable. There's a 5-year deed restriction requirement, attached or detached units, 6 units per acre. And then local governments receive this funding. And then the last one, which we have a few that have come across the desk so far, is the IFDs, Infrastructure Financing District. So this one, there's no affordability requirement, no owner occupied requirement, no density requirement. It's an assessment bond and the developers receive the funding. And it's for infrastructure improvements that benefit the public, which is broken down in this page, going over what those can be. The end.
Well, that was a lot of information.
I like that.
Yeah, we just want to
Shoot me
get
in.
Walt Disney?
It has clapping if I turned on the sound, but I decided to leave that out.
So we just wanted these to be on your radar and we'll be talking a little bit, we have a session a little bit later today. We're gonna talk about IFDs in a little more greater detail because that seems to be the preferred mechanism that we're getting from housing developers. We've got.
They don't want any restrictions.
Exactly, and we want to talk about that. And how that relates to the county as the state statute, how it relates to the county. But these are just to get on your radar. One of the things we'd like to do, and I had spoken just briefly to Gage about this, is after the election in November, we're looking at partnering with a couple of our cities to talk about why housing projects can't move forward because of infrastructure needs. And we'd like to invite all of our new legislators and our existing legislators to a forum downstairs. And then we will present 3 different scenarios, one in West River Corridor, one in Hooper, and one in Harrisville, to show how these housing developers have come in and have had to stop their development because there's no infrastructure. And we really feel like it would be beneficial for the state legislators to have a better understanding as they're making legislation relative to cities and counties and regulating the development process or putting these IFDs in place and other types of incentives in place to understand that there's huge infrastructure lifts that aren't being addressed. And we can't have this top-down approach to, hey, you just have to build all this affordable housing, figure it out. We've got to be able to show them, we would love to do all of that, but please come in and show us how we can lift this infrastructure first and make sure we're right sizing the infrastructure for the future development. So we're looking at doing that the 3rd week in November here
Yep.
at the county.
Yep.
And we'll send you guys more information on that. We're gonna just have this open forum to talk about these incentives as well as what our representatives can help us with in the legislature as it moving forward as it relates to housing and affordable housing and the infrastructure that's needed to do that. So just want to give you a heads up of some of the things that the department's working on. So if you have any questions about this, as you can see.
I know it's a lot of information, but I can always send you the PowerPoints too if you want more of a summarization of that 3 pages.
Just wanted it to be on your radar.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, thank you.
So Awesome.
Thank you both for doing that. Scott, any questions for you?
No, I'm just curious how you get 30 units per acre.
Yeah, the density requirements are really,
Some of those density requirements, like how do you, so owner occupied, they're gonna have to be townhomes or?
Townhomes,
Or condos,
five-family.
right? 'Cause
Like
they're-
5 or 6 stories.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw some of that somewhere in one of our meetings down there, WFRC or one of them, Scott, some of them were going. Some of them were, was it 200 units per acre?
200.
200 units per acre. That was in Mill Creek.
Real quick, yeah.
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 It's,
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
Atlanta type of building.
Sorry?
It's like Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Trend base.
They squeeze it all in as high as, and actually Boise, city of Boise is doing that downtown. They are going vertical and compact. And they're high priced too, which is,
That's kind of like what they did down at City Creek. Some of those buildings in City Creek were phew,
tall.
way up there in the air, and then they were all residential units, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
They were
But, you know, as we're-
pricey too.
yeah, they are. But this is a way to maybe do it a little more affordable if they're getting some of the tax breaks
Yeah.
for it, so.
And they have owner occupied requirements on some of them, so then it makes it a little more friendly to our neighbors, everyone.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see the financing of some of these things, if you need to have them at or below market rate, but I need 50 units or 39 units per acre. So I'm building a condo, but then selling the I don't know, I'd be
So
curious to
I
see.
asked when we first when this was first presented, Cameron Deal presented it at the Waycott Housing Subcommittee
Mhm.
meeting. When he presented it, and I asked that same question, and some of these are LIHTC projects. So you can mix LIHTC with these incentives.
What's a LIHTC project?
Low income housing tax credits. So the developers will come into an area and build and get LIHTC credits, and that means they're gonna build they're gonna build not affordable housing units, but able to put people in there at an affordable cost because they'll be compensated for creating a certain percentage of their development project. Usually about 20 is usually what the minimum is. 50 to
20%.
20% of their units are affordable. And they're getting reimbursed.
Wow.
Does Andy at the Housing Authority, have you talked to her about any of these?
We haven't had a conversation, but we are including her in our forum.
Okay.
She'll be a part of that forum.
All right. Any questions, commissioners?
No,
All right, then appreciate your presentation.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Tuckett,
Thanks.
and we'll recess until 2:15. Let me rephrase
well,
that,
it's close to that now for 2 minutes.
until wait a second,
It's a,
look at our thing, it says
it's an
to
admin,
recess for
2:45.
30 minutes until 2:45.
because we have an admin meeting at 2:15.
Oh, we're recessing from the public meeting.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to leave our public work session and go to an admin meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, thank you.
I was confused there a second.
Work session. And we'll load the room now with item number 5.
Is Chris coming again?
He was running behind, but Lauren's up here to.
Awesome.
When we compare that, you know, we understand that Union County will, you know, put in, I would say, as part of Union County's equity, put in land at some point, or land at some point.
Hi, Lawrence. Hey, how are you? Good. How's it going down there?
It's good.
Good,
Yes, how are you guys?
good. Are you gonna be at the health board meeting tonight?
Yes. Yes.
I'm on that board.
Ms. Thomas, where are you with?
The attorney's office.
She's our new
Okay.
attorney,
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
pending bar results.
pending bar results.
Well, you'd ask that,
It's
like,
our new branding Quinny.
like I should know. I'm sorry, I don't know that.
She doesn't wanna be the new Brandon Quinny.
She's better than the brand.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know that you had that.
Involvement in it.
I was
There you go.
introduced.
We're gonna go with, regarding the IFDs and then, new NUEA contract. Ms. Russell, if you lead out, please.
Absolutely. Commissioners, we spoke a little bit earlier about IFDs and what they are. We have began to see some IFD petitions. And what that means for the county is we call them, PIDs, little brothers. So PIDs have to go through a legislative process with the county. IFDs do not. They're very unique. They have similar types of structure as a PID, but they are independent of a governing body and a governing document. They become their own governing body, once they're created, and they create themselves. But they do have to go through a petition process through the county. So what we wanted to make sure is as they're going through our petition process, and I met with our bond counsel, Randall Larson and Aaron Wade, as well as our Economic Development Finance Committee last week. Also had the opportunity to meet with our attorney's office. And we included Ricky Hatch and his office in these conversations because IFDs will come through Ricky Hatch. Then they'll go right to the surveyor and then they go back to Craig, and Craig files with the state. So they completely bypass the commission, but we want to make sure we have a process where you are informed as to when these are being created.
Great.
Also to make sure that the petitioners understand that they can create these IFDs, but in the statute, that does not mean that the county has to accept the infrastructure that they built.
Right.
And we want to make sure that's coming out of the gate from Ricky Hacker's office when we're issuing when we're certifying their permit, their petitions, that we have a disclaimer saying, great, we're certifying your petition, but keep in mind, we do not have to take any infrastructure that's created by this IFD.
Yeah.
We just make sure that covers everybody. So,
Good point.
we'd like to do that through resolution. We'd like to create a resolution that we present in a public meeting so that as these are coming through, that resolution will be attached to that certificate. And we won't have any confusion in the present or any confusion in the future. So Lauren has drafted that resolution. We wanted to present you with a copy of that.
Oh, I haven't drafted it.
Oh, you are drafting it though?
Yes.
Okay, Lauren will be drafting
Yeah,
it.
I think Chris wanted the okay on it
Okay.
before we like.
Sorry, I thought it was
No,
drafted.
it's okay.
So we'll be presenting you with that resolution. If you'd like another work session for that resolution, let us know. If not, we'll just send it to you through email and then get it on the agenda.
Question, Gage?
No, I think. I just wanna make sure under code, it gives us the ability to accept or not accept
Correct.
the infrastructure, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So, and really, that's what the resolutions.
And that's what the resolution
So-
say, and it'll be taken right out of the state statute. We're just taking the state
Okay.
statute, repeating it. We just want to make sure that the developers that are applying have a very, very concise understanding that you still have to go through our development
Yeah.
process,
Mhm.
and we are not obligated to take your
Oh,
infrastructure.
we need that, just to protect ourselves,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause we don't want somebody going out there and putting infrastructure in that, doesn't work, and
And
then
they come back and say.
they
you
come
have to
back, well,
pay.
you guys gotta take it, so,
Right.
okay,
Because we
here's,
certified our plat. for
here's
some
chapter
reason.
one.
Yeah,
we have to still approve the infrastructure,
absolutely.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that goes through our
Good business.
regular,
Good business,
yeah,
I think it's important for us to work this like a business.
yeah.
and we literally have one petition in the pipe, and we've got a 45-day response period.
Oh,
We want
really?
to make sure we get this passed and get this attached before we respond, so that's why we're putting.
Well, just
it on.
covering our base. On our back.
Commissioner Bowles?
Whatever you'd like.
I'm not. I agree.
Great,
Okay.
we'll get that.
4 words. 4 words. Sure glad you're here.
You are welcome, sir.
Yeah, that's forward.
Have a good team.
Okay,
No, I'm glad, that's a good catch.
terrific.
Yeah.
Rather catch it now than later.
What's important? You know, I don't know if you've played any baseball, but it's good to always catch it the first time.
Yeah.
It's called managing expectations.
Yeah.
This is an interesting incentive. It gives them a lot of power. They do have to follow our entitlement process and our planning process, but they have the ability to bypass the county and the cities.
Perfect.
So we have one application in?
Mhm.
Okay. Good.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Perfect. If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion for item number 8.
Wow, that looks like it's adjourned. You mean six?
6.
6.
Oh, what is it?
Move to adjourn at 6.
6. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned. Thank you.